can you get 100% scholarship from Cornell University? Let's talk about that.
When they gave me an admissions offer, they also said that this is the financial aid that we are going to give you. Turned out that they were giving me a full ride.
Now, Cornell University is one of the 8 Ivy Leagues and the prestigious universities located in the city of Ithaca, which is absolutely gorgeous, surrounded by the lakes and the waterfalls. But what makes this scholarship interesting is the Tata Scholarship for Indian students. Now, our very well-known Ratan Tata graduated with a Bachelor's of Architecture from Cornell in 1959. And since then, the Tata Scholarship has taken place with a $25 million endowment. And obviously, it's competitive, so nearly around 20 students every year get this scholarship. But as long as you're applying to any undergraduate program at Cornell and get accepted, and are eligible for a need-based financial aid, you'll be eligible for this scholarship. So let's talk to Anmol, who actually got the Tata Scholarship and completed his computer science bachelor's degree from Cornell University. So thank you, Anmol, for joining in on the Crazy Medusa YouTube channel. I'm not going to speak too much about your background. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, a little bit about your education background and what you studied at Cornell?
I studied computer science at Cornell. I was there from 2016 to 2020. Before that, I was doing my high school in Patna, which is a city in Bihar. I did my high school over there, and then I applied to colleges abroad. I got into Cornell, and I selected Cornell because it gave me a good financial package and it was a good offer. I went there to do my computer science bachelor's. I did not know already, obviously, that I wanted to do computer science, but I think computer science was something I was interested in, and I took a few classes. I figured out that it is something I'd be interested in doing for the rest of 3 years. And so by 2020, I had a degree. Then I applied to PhD programs, and now I'm currently a PhD student doing computer science again in Chicago.
So you mentioned that you didn't know that you were going into computer science when you actually applied to Cornell. How did that work out when it comes to your college application? Wouldn't that have kind of hurted your application that you didn't know what you were coming in for? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so very good question. American colleges, or I guess a lot of foreign colleges, do not require you to specify what major you want to do. They're interested in understanding what you did in high school, and they're also interested in understanding how you did that, how you did what you did in high school. So I did a lot of science projects. Actually, I was interested in environmental engineering before coming to Cornell because I did a lot of work on waste management and generating electricity from those kinds of things. I participated in a lot of regional science competitions in school. And so that was where my interest was. Computer science, I took a lot of classes in computer science, and it's like my father has a computer in his home office, and I would just get the opportunity to play with it or do random stuff with it, do some coding on it. And I really liked that. So that was something I got to write in my application. And then I guess they liked that I was interested in a lot of science projects. They liked that I could do environmental engineering if I went to Cornell. But then I figured that, I didn't like chemistry as much when I actually took the classes. And so I just stuck to computer science, because that is something I could do very easily.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So when you were applying to colleges, did you already at the time know about the Tata Scholarship? And did you have that in the back of your mind that, this is what I'm trying to apply for? So I need to maybe have this sort of a profile or include these things. How did that come along?
Yeah, good question. So Scholarships at Cornell are not actively advertised, I would say. So they say that they have scholarships available and you can get a full ride if your financial conditions are such. They all the colleges require you to fill something called a CSS profile, where you give information about your parents' income, wealth, and like other assets you own. And based on that, they figure out how much financial aid to give you for Cornell admissions. I did not know that I was applying for the Tata Scholarship. And when they gave me an admissions offer, they also said that this is the financial aid that we are going to give you. And it turned out that they were giving me a full ride. And they just called it the Tata Scholarship because that's where they were siphoning off the money from. Siphoning off
Understood.
sounds wrong, but I mean, they were taking the money from the Tata fund and giving it to me.
Understood. I think in a way that kind of like relieves some of the pressure off of the students.
Yeah.
So you're not burdened to like have that in the back of your mind that this is the scholarship I want to apply for and this is how I should make myself look. So I think the most important question, and everybody loves the answer to this, is why do you think you got into Cornell with a full ride?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I got into Cornell with a full ride because I applied to several colleges and all of them rejected me. Only Cornell accepted me, and that too with a full ride. So it was, I think it was pure luck. But I mean, there is nothing as such as pure luck. I obviously did it. I obviously was a good student in high school. I did well in my classes. I liked working with my teachers. So that is something that is also important. I think many students in high school don't realize it, that your teachers are important because they write your letters of recommendation, right? And that is something colleges look at very carefully. What is also important is your extracurricular activities. So participating in projects, competing in them, having a variety of interests. So I mean, you can participate in just one kind of field. So you could do chemistry projects, for example. But I think it's important to understand that you explore a lot of things in college, in high school, and do that throughout high school, so that you have something. You can show that you were interested in something throughout every year of your high school. And I think that is pretty much it. Other than that, I don't know what contributes. I don't know what contributed. Yeah, to for me to get into Cornell, but it was good luck.
That sounds good. And I think, just like the wholesome profile that you mentioned, you definitely have one with all of the projects that you did, based on, community work and also like environmental projects that played definitely a massive role. What kind, if you don't mind sharing this, what kind of grades did you have in like grade 10 and 12? And do you think those grades and just numeric scores, whether it's the SAT, if you gave that, the TOEFL scores, did they have any role in, kind of pushing your application forward?
Yeah, American colleges have a deadline that is before the scores you get for your class 12 boards. So you apply and you get the admissions result before you have actually given your 12th boards. So they did not have access to my 12th board results. What they did have access to was all the scores before I had applied to them. So that was class 12th, the first semester, and everything before that. I think I was a very, very good student. I mean, in terms of grades, I got above 90% in all of the courses I took. And that was pretty much throughout my school. So 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and before that as well. And so grades wise, I was very consistent. I think what was more important than that was definitely being in a very good relation with teachers, because teachers could vouch for the good scores that I was getting and say in their letters that, okay, this was a good student, not only because he got good scores, but also because he was responsive in class and he had a collaborative nature, like those kinds of things. I think my teachers afterwards, like after I got the admission, said that, they hinted at these things in my letters. So I thought, okay, this was maybe the reason I got into a college.
Gotcha. And that's a unique perspective. A lot of students focus on a majority of the application, but letters of recommendation, I feel, are given the least importance, just because maybe sometimes it's considered as a kind of like entity that's out of the student's hands. But
Yeah.
like you said, you can definitely, if you know you're going to apply to colleges, start
Hmm.
building that relationship with teachers, and that
Yeah.
kind of definitely goes a long way. So thank you for sharing that perspective. I think it's a unique one.
Yeah. I also didn't know that I was going to apply to college abroad until 11th grade, but I obviously had a good relationship with my teachers before that as well. So, I mean, if you are interested in academics, if you're interested in a particular subject, for example, then you should, by naturally, you should be very interested in just discussing things with your teacher, and your teacher will realize that, and they will have a good relationship with you. So,
For sure.
I mean, it's not something you have to force yourself to do it, but it comes off naturally. You also asked about other scores. So SATs, I was able to get about 2200 out of 2400. That was 5 years ago. The SATs have changed a lot. It's also optional now, so I don't think many colleges require it now.
So the Tata Scholarship that you got, what exactly did it cover in terms of funding?
So, in terms of funding, what Cornell gave me was a budget of a list of things that I would have to spend on when I went there as a student. It listed out tuition, whatever the tuition fees was, listed out room and board, just an estimate of how much it would cost. So, for the first year, it just gave me an estimate of what the dorm housing costs and what the meal plan cost. Then it listed out a few things that were not charged by the university. Well, so health insurance definitely that was charged by the university. It listed also my personal expenses. So it just gave me an estimate of $2,000 that I would need to spend. That the college estimated that a student generally spends every year, and then one round trip like home, right? So that is also about $2,000 maximum. And then the total budget was for about 75,000, and they gave me a scholarship for all of that.
Gotcha. And this was constant all throughout all 4 years, or did
Yeah.
they kind of evaluate each year and then tweak it a little bit?
Oh, but so they do evaluate each year based on the information I provide them. So I had to give them every year the tax information of my parents, like financial information. And I also had to give them information about where I was going to live the next year, because based on that, they would reassess the scholarship and give me a different amount every year. It generally increased because prices increase with inflation, and so it increased like 1 or 2% every year. That was about
Understood.
it.
And were you in any situation throughout any of the years throughout your undergrad where the scholarship amount was less and you actually had to pay something out of pocket?
I was able to manage the out-of-pocket cost with the earning I was getting from my jobs. After my first year, where I was at the library, I switched to teaching assistant jobs, which paid a little bit more and were more exciting. I taught computer science courses, and so that helped me. But I mean, if I hadn't got the job, I don't think I would have been in a situation where I would have to get something out of my pocket. I was able to not ask my parents for money throughout college, so that was a big achievement for me personally.
For sure. I think that makes any parents proud, and it definitely
Yeah.
relieves a lot of stress, off of them as
Mhm.
well. So that's really cool. That's all the questions that I had, Anmol. Thank you so much for tuning in and having this chat. I think, the Crazy Medusa viewers are definitely going to find this interview really helpful.
Mhm.
But yeah, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great fun to talk to you. Yeah,
All right.
see you.
Perfect.